Hello and welcome back once again to Movie Reviews. So finally got around to seeing some of the new movies that have just come out that I've been wanting to see. First one up for today is John Wick. Now this one I actually saw as a preview while I was catching up on the other ones, and it looked awesome. And when it opened, I went to see it. It does star Keanu Reeves, and unfortunately Keanu Reeves kind of has limited acting chops, but at the same time, he's not a bad actor. Well, not a horrible actor, I should say, because I have seen him put out some rather not so good performances, let's put it that way. But this one, overall, I think he did a good job. He actually emoted a lot more in this one than he has in any of the films that I can remember ever seeing him in. None of that, that whole whoa thing that people like to imitate him on, that even though it started with Bill and Ted, he kind of carried into a bit of The Matrix. Like, whoa, I know Kung Fu. It's like none of that. He's actually going out of his way to actually put some emotion into this one, which you gotta appreciate from an actor like Keanu. So the movie starts out basically with the ending, or almost the ending. It's one of those movies where it shows you one of the last scenes first, and then it takes you back to the beginning of how we got there. So it shows John, and he's hanging out with his wife, and slowly his wife gets sick and eventually dies, which this is all shown in the previews, is the basis of the story. So then they have her funeral, he goes home, and he's kind of just in mourning. And then there's a knock at the door, he goes and answers it, and it's a lady from an animal shelter delivering this small puppy. And there's a card attached to it that, it was basically their anniversary. And his wife had left him a card that, despite her illness and she couldn't be there, he needed someone or something to show affection to. So she got him this dog. So then he's, going out and dealing with the dog. He's got to go out and get it some kibble and stuff because he doesn't have anything to feed it at the house. Really only like a couple of days go by in the story since his wife's funeral to the point when everything happens. So as he's out running around with the dog, he stops to get gas, and he sees, these Russian guys, and they start talking to him about his car and offer to buy it. He says it's not for sale. So then he goes home, and of course that night the dog gets up and starts running around, so he thinks the dog has to go out to the bathroom. So, again, this is all shown in the preview, so I'm not spoiling too much. So he goes to let the dog out, the guys are in the house. They attack him, the dog's whimpering and barking, so of course they knock the dog out. And that's all they do at first. Then they take his car keys and knock him out, and then when he wakes up, he sees the dog laying next to him, so he goes to pet it and see if it's okay, and that's when he realizes it's dead. So he leaves, and we cut to where the guys who stole the car are taking it to the chop shop, which is the John Leguizamo scene that you see in the preview. And he basically tells them, you have no idea what you've done, get out of my shop and everything. And the guy's kind of like, we own you. He goes, no, you don't own nothing. I work with your father, not for your father, or something like that. So then the kid's kind of lipping off, so John Leguizamo punches him. Then we cut to the scene where John Wick shows up at the chop shop, and he goes, is my car here? And he tells him, this is who has it, and it belongs to this Russian mob boss that John Wick used to work for. So John Leguizamo later that night gets a call from the Russian, and he goes, I heard you punched my son. Yeah, I did. Would you mind telling me why? Well, because he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. And all the Russian says is, oh, and hangs up the phone. That's it. So already, there's something about this John Wick character. If it wasn't already spoiled in the trailers that he used to be this assassin, mercenary, whatever you want to call him, at this point in the movie, you'd be like, who's John Wick? Why is John Wick this important? Why are all these people fearful of him? He was just this guy with a sick wife and a dog. But of course, from the preview, you know that what his background is. So of course, the Russian knows that he's coming. He calls John trying to settle it. John basically just blows him off. He goes, okay, so we're going to have to deal with this. And Hit Squad shows up trying to take out John. John kills them all. Spoilers. There is actually a funny scene where you find out that John has friends everywhere, even in the police department. Not going to really spoil too much on that, although I probably just did. And throughout this whole community of mobsters, like as he shows up, people just pay him a courtesy that, like he could kill them because they're there, but as soon as they realize who it is that is coming in, they kind of like just set their guns down and walk away and show him a courtesy, or they'll sit there and chat with him for a bit, and then he'll say, okay, have a nice night, and walk away and let him live. So that goes on for a while, and all the stuff's going on where he's tracking down the mob boss's kid. Then he ends up getting caught because his own slip up. So then he's having words with the Russian mob boss, which he actually asked to have a meeting with him at one point, just to be like, give me your son and I'll leave you alone. But the mob boss wouldn't meet with him. So now that he's wreaked havoc on this guy's life, and they finally caught him, now he sits down and has a talk with him. And it's like, why didn't you just agree to meet with him before, and you could have probably saved like 100 people's lives. So they have their words, and the guy's like, why are you so upset over it was just a dog? And then John's kind of like, it was the last thing my dying wife gave me, and the guy's like, oh, so he kind of realizes it. He's like, well, it is what it is, walks away. So of course, John gets out and catches up with the kid, and things go from there, and we eventually come up to the big climax of the movie. One thing about him and this kid is he's had this kid in his sights probably 3 times during the course of the movie when he's going after him. He's got the kid dead to rights, and he lets the kid basically go, like gives him a fair shot to, okay, run, but if I catch you, you're dead. Which doesn't make any sense. You got him like dead in your sights, and you allow him to run to where you have to chase after him and fight all these other guys. Why didn't you just take him out when you had the chance? He does this at least 2 times in the movie, and then once at the finale when he finally catches up with him. He's like shooting up everybody in the room. He turns the gun on the kid, and then just like stops for a minute, and the kid takes off running before he goes after him again. It's like, why do you keep letting him run? This is the guy that you want. This is the one that you're pissed off at. Why are you letting him run? Is it sporting chance? Okay, but you wait till he runs like 5 steps and shoot him. You don't let him get all the way across the building. So then the big climax happens, and we cut back to where we were when the movie started, the final scene, and it goes on from there, and that's more or less the end of the movie. There's a lot of stuff in it there's actually quite a few good one-liners in this, or just people's reactions to things, like when they hear John Wick's name, just like their reaction. It gives you a lot of good one-liners. The only downfall I have with the movie is some of the fight choreographing seems really slow and sloppy, compared to like what we've seen Keanu doing things like The Matrix or something, when he was, even like the first Matrix when he does the Kung Fu scene with, Lawrence Fishburne. Is that right? Yeah. Lawrence Fishburne. That was more quickly paced than the fight choreographs in this. These are slow. It's really sloppy looking, like a lot of the gunshots that are going off. It's like, okay, the guy would have been down on the ground after the first shot, let alone the 16th shot that you dump into him. So a lot of it loses a little bit there. But overall, it has enough of I don't want to say it has a decent story, because there really isn't much more of a story other than what you see in the preview. The guy tried to steal the car, killed the dog, and this guy who he didn't know who he was goes after him and wreaks havoc on the city. It's something we've seen in movies before, but this one has enough action. Like I said, a lot of nice one-liners. Overall, just the way everything plays out is really well done, other than, the little bit of sloppy fight choreography. So as far as a star rating on this one, I think, I want to give it a 4, but the sloppy fighting really gets to me a little bit. So I think overall, I'm going to give this one a 3.5. It's still a decent film. The fighting could have been better choreographed, but other than that, it's a solid watch. So if you like action movies, check it out. Honestly, one of Keanu Reeves' best performances that I've seen in a while. Or actually, pretty much throughout his... I mean, I like a lot of Keanu Reeves films, even the ones that most people don't. I don't know, it's just... Growing up watching his movies, I just have, an appreciation for him that other people don't seem to have. But this one was actually one of his best performances that I've seen out of all his movie careers, so it's worth watching just for that. Especially the amount of emotion he puts into one scene. Just one scene. He does it throughout the entire movie, but it's just this one scene that really puts it over the top for me, at least. You might look at it and be like, oh, that was shitty, but whatever. It's my review. You don't like it, go do your own review. It's a solid watch, if nothing else. Then, even though the fighting's slowly paced, it's still a lot of good action. Keanu's performance, the witty one-liners, all make it worth checking out. 3.5 on this one. And that's it for today on movie reviews. Not sure when I'm going to come over and see the other 2 movies that I want to see. As far as anything else that's opening up, I don't think there's anything else until, I think first part of November is when the next things start opening up. So I might actually be able to start recuperating some money off of this. That's it for this episode. As always, again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Movie Reviews.